Thank you and welcome to the Kriya Yoga teachings that we've been doing the first Sunday of each month. So we've been talking about the Yoga Sutras, and I'm going to continue with that theme. My favorite, there's many translations, but my favorite one is this one by Swami Tapasananda and Christopher Isherwood called How to Know God. So who doesn't want to know God? Well, maybe not everybody, but if you do, the Yoga Sutras are the pathway. So, so we've talked about the first four. So I'll review briefly. The first four are basically more about practical ideas and suggestions for a pretty sane life, like things you should do and things you shouldn't do. The yamas and the niyamas are the first two limbs of the 8-limbed path to yoga. And yoga is, well, yoga, in the first aphorism of Patanjali, the very first one, it says, now begins the study of yoga. Okay, the second one is yoga is the control of the thought waves of the mind. The third one is, then we abide in our true nature. And the fourth one is, when not in the state of yoga, we remain identified with the thought waves of the mind. So anyway, to get to the state of meditation, which is actually the 6th stage, we have to go through the first four. So the first one, the yamas, is the things that we shouldn't do, things to refrain from doing. And it's like things like, well, it's violence. You shouldn't be violent. You shouldn't tell lies. You shouldn't be greedy. You shouldn't steal. You shouldn't be sexually irresponsible and greediness. So those things, they inhibit our ability to meditate and achieve enlightenment. So we want to refrain from lying, stealing, cheating, being sexually irresponsible, and hurting others and being greedy. So don't do those things. The second limb of yoga is the niyamas, the things that you should observe. And those are purity or cleanliness. And this is not only the body, but thoughts and words or speech. Contentment. We want to feel content while we're working toward our goals, but just having a general feeling of contentment with what is at the moment. Disciplines and austerities, we want to be able to have discipline so that we can achieve our goals. The next one is self-study or reflection on, ourselves. And the last one is devotion to God or a higher power, higher level of consciousness, higher planes of existence, other than our little ego minds of me, and mine. That's, the tendency. But then if we want to achieve enlightenment or higher consciousness or know God, then, we want to observe these observances and refrain from doing the things that are harmful. Because how are we going to achieve enlightenment if we're feeling guilty about what we said or did, or we were mean? We want to not do those things. So the things to observe and the things to refrain from doing are the first two stages of yoga, yamas and niyamas. And the next two limbs are more preparation for yoga, like asana is the third one, which is where we do the yoga practice. That's what people mostly mean when they say they do yoga. They do postures, and so that helps your body to be able to sit in meditation and achieve the higher realms, higher states of consciousness. And the one after asana is pranayama. And pranayama is life force. It's energy. Prana means energy. So we usually do this through breathing techniques. And there's other ways, good diet. Some foods have more prana, and healthy sleep all adds to our energy. So these first four, the things you should do, the things you shouldn't do, move your body around, be flexible, be able to sit, and breathe. So these are the 4 very practical limbs of yoga. And that's enough to get through life. But some people want to achieve the higher planes of existence. I think, well, what else is there besides the career and relationships and everyday life? So yoga provides a pathway to that. The next one is a preparation for meditation. The next 2, first one, the 5th limb is sense withdrawal. So we sit in our comfortable position. You always want your spine lifted and straight. And because if you're slumped over, energy rises up from the tailbone to the top of the head. So if your body is all cramped up and not straight, the energy has to it's harder for it to lift. So the sense we're sitting, then we withdraw the senses. We turn our attention inward. We close our eyes in the Kriya tradition. Other traditions have the eyes open and kind of looking down, so that the inner world and the outer world are kind of combined. But in Kriya Yoga, we close the eyes, and then we go into, from the sense withdrawal, we go to the next stage, which is concentration. So that's the stage right before meditation. You can't just close your eyes and say, I'm there. No, you need a technique. And there's many, many techniques. A very common one is focus on the breath. So to concentrate, you need to focus on something. Can be the breath. Other people focus on an object of beauty or bliss, something that brings about a feeling of upliftment and joy and bliss. That's a focal point. Another focal point is maybe a mantra. There's a certain sound. When you kind of merge with the sound, you think about the sound, you chant it inwardly. And sometimes we combine the breath with the sound, like for example, Hong Saw, which means thou art that, or that thou art. There's 2. One is Hong Saw, and some traditions use So Hum, which means either thou art that or that I am, or thou. Anyways, a way to connect with the ultimate, with the Ishta, with the, and I'll explain Ishta in a moment, with the higher consciousness. That's what we're trying to do, lift our consciousness to a more galactic level rather than the everyday trying to solve problems. Anyway, Ishta is your chosen form of the divine. And it could be, if you're, depending on what feels right for you. And some people who have very Christian background might choose Jesus or Mother Mary. They feel very close to that person, so that's their Ishta. Another person might choose the Buddha. Some people choose some aspect of the divine, like say, for example, Ganesh, the god that removes obstacles. So if you feel very connected to some kind of a spiritual or religious concept, that's a good Ishta for you. Another one is just the light, inner light. We have the sun center here toward enlightenment. So the light, the inner light, you can focus on that. So the bottom line is you need to focus on something before you get to meditation. So we have these different techniques. Now, meditation. I'm going to just say briefly what it is, and so we know we're on the same page. What it is not is daydreaming. So you see people sitting there, they may be meditating or not, doesn't matter to you, but it's not daydreaming. It's not physical relaxation where you're just relaxed. No, it's not a state where we drag up pleasant memories and of the past experiences and we're kind of daydreaming and thinking about all that. And neither is it like a sledgehammer. We're trying to beat the mind to stop thinking. So the mind is a wonderful thing. It solves problems. It helps us make plans. It helps us to review things of the past. It's very creative. It is always wanting to keep us safe. It's looking out for danger, keeping us, reminding us of things. It's a beautiful tool. But there, when we meditate, we want to let the mind relax. So that's what meditation is. It's not relaxing of the body. It's a training for the mind, to put your mind where you want it to be at any given time. Notice where it is. Do you want it there? No? Okay, put it where you want it. So we have this ability. We are not our minds. We have a mind as we have a body, but we're able to, through meditation practice, we're able to focus where we want to focus. So it's really, it's a scientifically validated exercise for your brain. So like exercise for your body, we have exercise for the brain. And it's self-care. Meditators experience much less stress. And why is that? Because they're used to focusing their mind where they want to focus. They're not like drawn into like worries and regrets, and they're wherever you are, there you are, as Ram Dass said, I guess. So, and right now it's usually pretty good. There's nothing going on. You're sitting here with the Zoom. We don't have to worry about things in the past or later on or anything like that. So 47% of the time the mind is thinking, and they're mostly negative thoughts because it's always trying to keep us safe. Just you hear a sound, what is that? It's just always trying to keep, it's a wonderful tool. But in meditation, we want to just give it a break. Think of it as giving your mind a break. Let it just relax. So it's a quieting of the mind and a turning inward. And then, if we're lucky, someday, if with persistence and devotion to the practice, we may see glimpses of enlightenment or reach a higher plane or know God. The purpose of meditation is to reach higher planes of consciousness, other than this new everyday, day in and day out plane. Our jobs, our families, our problems. There's more. So that's the last 4 limbs, is preparing yourself to get into a state of meditation and perhaps even have a glimpse of higher consciousness. So let's see, we're going to do so that's what meditation is. It's training for your brain, and it makes your life better in so many ways because you're there for your life. I mean, we're here, let's be here. Be here now. So, and there's so many benefits of that. We're not engaged in the negative worries about what could happen or what did happen. And we're paying attention. We're just more perceptive. We're maybe more creative, because when we can control the thought waves of the mind, we're more easily able to notice intuition. Intuition has a better way of expressing itself when the mind is not all cluttered with all that other junk. And so it kind of gives us an edge, like in your career. If you're a person who's always kind of there and present and mindful and listening, and when people talk to you, you're really engaged. You're not thinking about what you're going to say when they're done. Or criticizing or judging. You're absorbing. You're there. You're aware. That's the main benefit of meditation, in addition to knowing God, is that you're aware. You're present with your life. And we're here. We might as well be present with it. So we're going to do a meditation. I think the simplest, when I teach meditation, I start with watching the breath. Because watching the breath is breath is with us, it's part of us, you can't avoid it, it's there anyway. So let's do a simple meditation of watching the breath. So we'll sit with our spine lifted. And in the Kriya Yoga tradition, Kriyananda taught us to exhale twice to the left through the open mouth. And then you bring your head back to the center. And that exhalation, the resurrection breath, is like a signal to your mind that, okay, we're going to meditate now. So, shh. So we inhale. And I suggest a couple of deep inhalations to relax the body, lift the spine, relax the shoulders. Make sure if you're cross-legged, the knees and hips feel comfortable, spine is comfortable. Always use pillows or whatever you need to be comfortable, because if you're not comfortable, the mind is only to think about the pain you're in, discomfort. Okay, the next inhalation is like relax the muscles around the face, the jaw, around the eyes, the forehead. And then once you realize the body is relaxed, then you can observe the breath flowing in, flowing out. We're in the state of concentration now. We're concentrating on the breath. We're thinking about the breath, noticing. Notice as you inhale, the air is kind of cool. And we're inhaling and exhaling through the nostrils. Hopefully, as you exhale, the air flowing over the nostrils is warmer. It's been warmed by the body. Also notice the pauses between the breaths. After the inhalation, what happens? A slight hold, and then the air flows out. And then what? Another slight hold. It flows back in. Maybe a thought pops in, like, how long are we going to do this? Or what am I going to have for lunch? Whatever it is, notice, set it aside. Go back to your breath, noticing the breath. And then at some point, we want to stop concentrating and move to meditation. So we stop thinking about the breath, but before we pick up a new thought, we're in the state of sunyata, which is the space between the thoughts. We're going to stay in that space between the thoughts. If another thought pops in, set it aside. Shh. Back to the sunyata, back to your meditation. You don't have to meditate for long. To end the meditation, we have to officially end it, formally end it. Otherwise, you might be picking up a thought, and before you know it, you're walking around the house. You thought you were meditating, like, huh? But so we officially end the meditation. What I do is I think about the lineage. And I just go through them, starting with Kriyananda. I think of Kriyananda, I visualize him, Shelley, Yogananda, Sri Yukacheshwar, Lahiri Mahasha, Babaji. And I visualize each one, and then I say, thank you. And by this time, I'm maybe still in a kind of a deeper meditative state where I don't want to just jump up yet. No, I want to sit here and absorb and enjoy and bring it in and become the meditator and the meditative technique become one. And I want to just be there. And then a thought starts to pop in. I say, okay, thank you. It's your turn now. Thoughts? Okay, thoughts. I don't really say that, but then there's a time where you're obviously done. So, anyway, that's, I'm just going to conclude with this one little story about the U.S. Army. They realized more veterans were committing suicide than being killed in combat. So they realized, try to figure out what can we do to protect our soldiers and our veterans. So they started a meditation research project, and like how long should they as part of their training. And they realized, well, if we train them in meditation, then that takes away from other training. So like, how long should they meditate for the maximum amount of benefit? And the neuroscientist, Dr. Amishi Jha, she was in charge of the research. She said that 12 minutes. 12 minutes, they get the maximum amount of benefit for the least amount of time spent in meditation. But you really don't need 12 minutes. If you don't have 12 minutes, you can do 2 minutes. Kriyananda said you can do 30 seconds. So it's not like you have to like set aside a lot of time. Who doesn't have 3 minutes or 30 seconds? Anyway, so just the main thing is do it every day. There will be once in a while, maybe once a month, where you just it didn't happen, but make it a consistent practice, and then you get all these benefits. So consistency and devotion to your practice, to your self-care. You know, you owe it to yourself for 2 minutes to, take care of yourself.